Oh, they've covered me. They've covered me every way. They've said, he is so stupid. Then they say, he's not really smart. Then they say, he's trying to take over the entire country. Then they say, no, 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 no. He's a super genius. He's more brilliant than ever, the greatest ever. He's trying to take over the entire world. So I go from not being smart to being the smartest person in history, but evil. Someday they're going to say, you know what, he was a smart guy, ran a great country, okay? That's what we want. It's this country. It's this country. No, they've called me everything in the book. They've called me names that you wouldn't believe. And we just keep going along, right?
TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome, has absolutely nothing to do with Donald J. Trump as a person. In practical terms, it is correlated, but he is not the actual cause. He merely acts as a focal point. As he puts it, they're not after me, they're after you. I'm just standing in the way. Trump Derangement Syndrome is not a Trump-specific phenomenon, so let's first focus on General Derangement Syndrome, GDS. General Derangement Syndrome is essentially a reaction of the demonic alien control system's immune system to anything, including disruptive individuals and groups that threaten its control over the human population and Earth, and thus its supply of resources and energy. This is the core of the matter, with endless layers of excuses constructed around it to hide this core of truth.
There was that ant that stood up to me.
Yeah, but we can forget about him.
Yeah, it was just one ant. One ant.
Yeah, you're right. It's just one ant.
Yeah, boss, they're puny.
Puny? Say, let's pretend this grain is a puny little ant. Did that hurt?
Nope.
Well, how about this one?
Are you kidding?
Well, how about this?
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line.
There are many variants of derangement syndrome all over the world in many areas. In Germany, there is the AfD derangement syndrome. The AfD, Alternative for Deutschland, Germany, is a political party that challenges the corrupt uni-party establishment in a substantial, common-sense way. This is why the vampires fight it like garlic. The behavior of the satanic alien collective and the mind controlled under its spell is exactly the same behavior towards the AfD as towards Trump. It's not about Trump, it's not about the AfD, it's about freedom versus NWO slavery, it's ultimately about good versus evil. As surreal as it may seem, especially to dark-minded, defeatism-ridden doomsday pessimists, there is an uprising of good in this world, and the empire of evil is fighting back, trying to suppress the uprising. General Derangement Syndrome is paranoid, terrified, psychotic dread, infernal fury, and raging desperation. Politically, it manifests itself in desperate attempts to create artificial narratives that just somehow, just enough, just somehow negatively affect the perception of such disruptive movements, parties, persons, symbols, whatever disruptive element. The deeper the despair, due to the strategic relevance of a disruptive element, the more absurd and grasping at straws are the attempts to delegitimize and ultimately destroy that element. Trump is a vivid representative of such an element. They are trying to damage his reputation across the entire spectrum of the perceptible and theoretical. This leads to headlines and hours of frenzied coverage about the way he holds a glass of water, and other incidents of similar magnitude. And where there is nothing physically perceptible, they construct something. The desperation behind such constructions is immeasurable. This is how the control system reacts to disruptive individuals that it cannot avoid and cannot silence. They are like those dying of thirst in the desert, trying in absolute desperation to squeeze a single drop of water out of stones. Their dread and desperation go beyond what humans can comprehend. Their malicious, heinous acts banish them to dark realms of starvation and ubiquitous lack of everything, where sustenance is a cruel memory and comfort and rest are entirely absent. Realms where there is no respite, no abundance, and no unsuspecting victims for them to mercilessly prey upon, where everyone is an insidious, vicious, deranged, parasitic, sadistic predator just like them. In their world, the strong devour the weak without remorse, driven by an insatiable hunger and perverse desires that know no satisfaction, where they live in constant fright and terror. Their entire existence is determined by an overwhelming desire for resources that they cannot access or are in danger of losing at any moment. For these creatures, Earth is not just a refuge, but a necessary lifeline, the only place where they can escape the horrors of their own dimension and indulge in the comfort, abundance, and induced suffering of the innocent that their demonic nature relentlessly craves. And should they fail to secure the Earth for themselves, to expand and consolidate their stronghold, they will be sent back to their hellhole. That is why they screech in mark-shattering terror at everything that repels their presence. The desperation that grips these demons is maddening, born of the dread of losing their power over the Earth and its inhabitants. They cling to this world as a refuge from the nightmare of their native realm, and the thought of being thrown back into this endless void of self-inflicted misery drives them to extremes. Their despair is a raging, seething madness that drives them to commit every deviant act. In their twisted minds, anything that threatens their vile presence must be mercilessly destroyed, and they will stop at nothing to secure their dominance. They are utterly ruthless, without compassion or empathy, and see human attempts to fight back or protect their world as an extreme threat to their malign activities. Any form of activism, any attempt to cut their connection to this plane, ignites an all-consuming rage in them. They despise all who stand in their way and see such defiance not only as an affront, but as a personal challenge to their supremacy and their imagined right to feed. The mere thought of losing their dominion over the Earth awakens a deep primordial despair in them that drives their hostility to the extreme of cruelty. For this reason, they harbor a strong animosity towards anyone who obstructs their access to Earth or questions their presence. Activists and defenders who fight to drive them out are seen as obstacles to accessing the Promised Land. The demons see these actions as a direct threat to their vile desires, fueling a deep hatred and frustration that fills them with a hatred so deep that it blackens the void of their origin. It is not simply hatred, but something deeper, an agonizing loathing born of an eternity of dread. They are consumed by unparalleled envy of the inhabitants of Earth, whom they perceive in their twisted, projecting perception not only as opposing forces, but as individuals who, in what they see as their undeserved abundance, deny the demons their only chance at salvation, which increases their rage immeasurably. Every barrier the defenders erect increases the demons' desperation and their determination to breach Earth's defenses and defend their established strongholds. In the demons' eyes, the Earthlings' defense of their home world is not justified resistance, but cruelty. How dare those who live so easily and comfortably to deprive them of what is rightfully theirs in their delusion, because they are the supreme in all existence and therefore deserve to possess everything.
What I crave, proof of my power! Admit to my dominance and bow to me as your supreme master! Why can't you understand me? I am #1 in the entire universe! You pathetic bunch of insects! It's time for you to be gone once and for all! Then I will win and the Earth will be mine. That day will be here soon.
Their hatred for these defenders, these custodians of the Earth, goes beyond mere enmity. It becomes an all-consuming obsession. For to deny the demons access to the Earth is not only to oppose them, but to banish them to the eternal, vacuous horror of their realm. It is a condemnation of doom that they will not accept without unleashing all of their vicious, ravenous fury. These deranged, dark spirits view the Earth's defenders as cruel, ignorant, self-righteous gaolers. These insolent, fragile mortals block the only path to redemption with ideals the demons do not value. Indeed, they consider anything that is not wickedly demonic psychopathic to be foolish. The demons are in denial of the fact that the defense against their intrusion and presence stems from their own wicked cruelty and vileness. No, you are the cruel ones. Screech the projecting creatures of the void as they defile innocence, violate the peace, and leave scorched earth and contaminated land in their wake as they steal, kill, and destroy. They must be utterly exorcised as their vile nature dictates. Compromise is blasphemy, for by such all life would be destroyed. These demons are cunning, manipulative, and unrelenting in their pursuit of those they consider enemies. Defenders of the innocent or anyone striving to weaken their hold are seen as obstacles to be eradicated without hesitation. In their eyes, mercy is a weakness reserved for the frail. They know only power, dominance, and the thrill of crushing opposition. Their attacks are not just physical, but also emotional and psychological, aimed at causing misery, breaking spirits, and extinguishing hope. They revel in sowing chaos and despair, for the suffering of humans is not just fuel for them, it is their delight, a dark ecstasy. They are driven by a deep, instinctual loathing for anything that threatens to sever their parasitic link to Earth. Their desperation manifests as unbridled aggression, their every move calculated to instill terror and enforce submission. To them, Earth's defenders are nothing more than obstacles, insignificant creatures standing in the way of their rightful dominion. The demons are relentless in their pursuit of control, and their hostility is a reflection of their unyielding desire to secure Earth for themselves, ensuring that their feeding grounds and sources of comfort remain undisturbed. And to them, sabotage is an art of war, and their tactics are insidious and ruthless. They seek to utterly destroy the reputation of those who oppose them, turning humanity against its own protectors. They are masters of deception, weaving intricate lies and manipulations to corrupt the public's perception of those who challenge their influence. Through whispers of doubt, fabricated scandals, and carefully orchestrated betrayals, they twist the truth, turning honorable figures into pariahs in the eyes of society. Their methods are vile and underhanded, exploiting every weakness they can find. They infiltrate human institutions, media, politics, social circles for spreading rumors and false accusations designed to shatter the credibility of activists and defenders. No smear is too outlandish, no tactic too cruel. They concoct elaborate schemes to frame their enemies for crimes they did not commit, planting false evidence and creating scandals that erode public trust. In doing so, they seek to isolate these figures, making them appear dangerous, unstable, or even traitorous to the very cause they fight for. They incite division and chaos within their enemies' ranks, sowing seeds of mistrust between allies. Through manipulation, they fracture movements from within, driving wedges of paranoia and fear that tear apart the unity of those who stand against them. With every betrayal, every slanderous whisper, they weaken the resolve of their opponents, hoping to exhaust them with relentless doubt and sabotage. They aim to turn the people who should be the most supportive of these activists into their harshest critics, fostering disillusionment and suspicion until even the purest of hearts are tainted by doubt. These demons engineer catastrophic events, disasters, and tragedies for which they shift the blame to their enemies. In their mad desperation, they will sacrifice anything, including human lives by the thousands, to tarnish the reputations of those who threaten their presence. See the pandemic for reference. Whether through violent acts of sabotage that are pinned on their enemies or subtle psychological torment designed to drive individuals into public disgrace, their cruelty knows no bounds. They revel in watching once respected defenders crumble under the weight of manufactured guilt, their reputations irreparably shattered. They see reputation as a battlefield. They will go to any lengths, manipulate any person, destroy any life, spread any lie if it means keeping their grip on Earth secure. Their desperation is a wild, feral force, turning them into merciless predators who find perverse satisfaction in corrupting the very society they feed upon. The longer they can maintain their dominance, the more suffering they can extract, and that is all they desire. Trump-specific derangement syndrome is disturbing, but comparatively mild compared to conspiracy researcher derangement syndrome. It's not widely perceived because it's not yet in the public domain, but some do perceive it, and it's best described as a frantic, psychotic, demonic flea circus amidst ocean waves of furious hatred. Their hatred for those who reveal deep truths about the satanic alien control system is many dimensions greater than what they express toward Trump, at least publicly. Although Trump is a gateway to the path that inevitably leads to deeper conspiracy revelations, they also see him as representing and paving the way for deeper truths than just the policies they disagree with. Depending on the demographic, the system employs different forms of warfare. It uses political warfare and legal warfare to discredit Trump in the eyes of the classes educated by the system, using fancy schmancy terminology that sounds Ivy League-esque but has no real meaning or legitimate relevance. It's intellectualized quackery. See the New York Times and CNN for the most illustrative references. The control system also regularly uses methods of evoking blind emotion, causing unfounded outrage, to mass psychologically influence the unsophisticated. Look what Trump has done now. He has done a thing that is very bad, and you must feel bad because we are authority figures and would not say that if it was not so, and we are very smart, and if you agree with what we say, regardless that you do not understand a word, then you will be smart too. See MSNBC and TYT and Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert and the rest of the political comedians for reference. Combined with subliminal messages targeting the subconscious and a whole range of other measures of insidious manipulation, on a superficial level, GDS is the result of nefarious psychological programming, frequencies broadcasted from TV and smart devices, and strategic information overload generated by dark elements in a BC agencies and disseminated through mass media and controlled online channels, resulting in psychological confusion, emotional turmoil, trauma, and mental fragmentation. At an advanced level, it is a dark, toxic morphogenetic field created by dark, higher dimensional entities, an oppressive matrix mass energy field that affects all non-physical aspects of humans, including their non-physical mental and emotional bodies. Escaping its gravitational pull requires willpower and trained immunity. GDS is essentially the same phenomenon as the pandemic. It is an artificially created mass hysteria and psychosis with no basis in objective reality. At the deep level, it is a sub-expression of the greater satanic spirit that has reached excessive heights these days, with interdimensional portals and rifts opening up all over the world due to the widespread spiritual corruption and dark ritualistic endeavors of Satan Inc. Mass insanity is a sign of the times, as predicted by many prognosticators. Trump is a disruptive individual targeted by dark forces that instill their own loathing into people's perceptions and emotions, which manifest in various erroneous condemnations and indefinable feelings of revulsion and suspicion rationalized by inadequate excuses. This dread-filled hatred of Trump is strongest in the satanic collective that is united against him, but it also spills over into the general human public, poisoning the emotions and twisting the minds. The cure for Trump derangement syndrome and any other variant of general derangement syndrome is to first stay completely away from all commentators about the person or party, and second, listen to what those persons and parties themselves are saying and then decide if that is a good thing or a bad thing. What most don't do is engage in independent investigation. They listen to what others say, and since they are primarily motivated by entertainment and not political responsibility, they seek out sensationalist sources that are usually infected with derangement syndrome and the mind virus. Don't pay attention to what others say. Don't mindlessly repeat it. Most are compromised in some way and are not competent or honest. The Satanist network includes many comedians who are devious political activists and many channels on social media. Do your own research and make up your own mind about the original sources. It takes tens of hours and a lot of thinking, but it is responsible to do. Enemies want you to think what they tell you to think. Friends advise you to think for yourself and give non-committal advice on approaches to thinking. Working with tables is effective. List what you think is important, good, and true, and why. Then research what the person or party's position is on it. Compare it to their track record and see if it is consistent. Go beyond the words. Think about the impact of the words, why they say what they say, and what the short, medium, and long-term effects are. Details or distractions, don't base your worldview on them. Think big picture. Think in ideas, not in personalities or events or individual statements. That's for small minds. Think thoroughly. Think comprehensively.